We got these puppies we're taking care of, fostering 3 puppies and a mother. They will not be foster fails. We will get rid of them. We will be putting them up for adoption, and people will be taking them. The mother is already spoken for. These 3 puppies are not. If you would like to make or lay claim on them when they go up for adoption in the next couple weeks, be sure and say so in the comments. But there they are. They're puppies. They're well-tempered, but again, they're puppies, so they've got a lot of energy and they like to nip. They like to put things in their mouths. But they will be very easy to train, I think. They're pretty smart. And they're cute. I mean, look how cute that little puppy is. Can you say no to a face like that? I don't really think you can. This may come as a surprise to some of you, but as a young jit, I used to be obsessed with a quirky British sci-fi show called Doctor Who. Throughout middle school and into high school, you could catch me compulsively rewatching my favorite episodes, poring over reference books, purchasing expanded universe tie-in media, and just generally being obnoxious about it. But then, something awful happened. You see, I made the terrible mistake of discovering the art of critical media consumption. And this happened to coincide with the show flanderizing itself under its worst tropes, and then being handed over to a new showrunner, a talentless hack whose name rhymes with Bliss Bibnall.
It could have been a lot better. It could have been slightly better written.
After this happened, I became jaded about the whole thing, and I decided to refocus my efforts on more noble pursuits, like the school golf team and arguing with strangers online. Then, one day during my sophomore year of college at Auburn, on a whim, I convinced my amigos to watch the 11th Hour, Matt Smith's debut episode with me. We all became mutually obsessed. We sped through Matt Smith's entire tenure in the TARDIS, and I began to think about using Doctor Who as a medium through which I could hone my nascent video editing skills. The first 26 years of the show's history are collectively known as the Classic Era. Now, this version of the show is a little bit different from the one we know today, and it has a few defining features. For one thing, the central focus of it is based a lot more around high-concept sci-fi ideas than dramatic character beats. Now, for those diehards who might object to this, notice I said more and not exclusively. There's still some character work going on, but it's not the central focus. For Doctor Who stories made in this century, the episodes are about 45 to 50 minutes long, and they're pretty much self-contained. Every once in a while you might get a two-parter, but that's the exception rather than the rule. With Classic Who, on the other hand, each episode is about 25 minutes long, but each story is made of at least 4 of those episodes put together. There's frequently a lot of repetition in these stories. Characters will find themselves going from set piece to set piece and back and forth multiple times within the same story. And sometimes they'll find themselves in the exact same dilemma they were in the previous episode, but with no apparent recollection of the prior encounter. Some stories in Classic Who go on for longer than the default 4-episode runtime. There are some 6-parters. There are some 7-parters. There are some 8, 10, and even 1 12-parter.
Oh my God!
Stuff like this is anathema to the Zoomer attention span. Since I made these edits purely for fun and not for profit, my main focus was on reducing repetition within the plot and focusing on the story-based utility of each scene. What is the purpose of each scene? What is it trying to convey? And how can I make it better? How can I take out dialogue that doesn't fit, that's clunky? How can I add in sound and visual effects where possible? I'm not exactly a visual effects artist, but I can do a little bit here and there to accent the story and to make it better. That sort of thing.
You see, my dear fellow, I am a big fan of Patrick Troughton's era of Doctor Who, because one time when I was 12 years old, I went with my father to the Baltimore Comic-Con, and I purchased every single episode of his for dirt cheap from a DVD vendor who was selling them on unlabeled discs.
Anyways, once I had them on DVD, I watched stories like Tomb of the Cybermen, The Sea of Death, Mind Robber, The Protons, The War Games, multiple times on long car rides and things like that, and my sister would watch them with me, so we'd have all these references and in-jokes that we'd make to each other based off of like the quirks and the running gags that would be in the show. And so when I started thinking about doing fan edits of Doctor Who, Patrick Troughton's era is the one I naturally wanted to start with. It's always been my hope that people would watch these stories and be able to share my appreciation of them. For that reason, naturally, I started with my very favorite one, The Mind Robber. Now, in The Mind Robber, Patrick Troughton's doctor and his companions Jamie and Zoe enter into an alternate universe called the Land of Fiction, where they meet a lot of classical figures from English literature, and they have to struggle to free themselves from the control of an alien intelligence.
It's alien.
The Mind Robber originally started off as 5 20-minute episodes, totaling about 100 minutes in duration. With my fan edit, I condensed it significantly and brought the runtime to a little bit over an hour. I also set about trying to colorize the entire story. It originally premiered in black and white, but I used video effects in Premiere along with a handful of source clips from around the internet and did a whole bunch of color matching and stuff like that to try to bring it into a full color rendition. I don't want to freeboot anyone, so credit where it's due. I used a lot of source footage from James Knox 817, who had like these pseudo-colorized versions of all 5 episodes. I say pseudo-colorized because it was like kind of flickery and like really it was some sepia thrown in with the grayscale. And then I used full color clips, about 15 to 30 seconds in duration from, I'm fairly sure that's Chroma, who's a YouTuber. And basically I used color matching, kind of similar to the process of Technicolor that movie makers used to use back in the day. And I tried to make it so that all of James Knox's clips match the colors of the clips made by, I'm fairly sure that's Chroma. And I had about a moderate amount of success with this. I think that if you watch it through, you really can't tell where the full color clips end and the rest of it begins. And that's what I was going for. And it looks like it's in color. It looks like it's in color throughout the whole thing. So, did I win? Yes, I won. I also hand wrote subtitles for the entirety of my version of the episode, and that was a major pain in the butt. We're talking 68 minutes of dialogue, give or take. And finally, I added in music by Murray Gold, who was the composer of Doctor Who, the modern version, in seasons 1 through 10. And the songs that I used of his were All the Strange, Strange Creatures and Fly on a Painting. And All the Strange, Strange Creatures was used in like the first 4 seasons a lot, and then Fly on a Painting was used specifically in the episode Heaven Sent, which had Peter Capaldi. I'm just covering all my bases here, all right? You need to know where this stuff came from, because I need to tell you. So anyway, you can see the Google Drive link to my Mind Robber edit directly below in the description. My next Troughton project after this was for a Redditor named FireMerc. He was putting together a collaborative project, editing various forms of media to make them look like old episodes of The Twilight Zone. I decided to use a dystopian technology story from Patrick Troughton's era called The Seeds of Death, which I already kind of felt like it was like halfway there to becoming a Twilight Zone episode just to begin with. This is a 6-part story. I kept it in black and white, and I didn't add any incidental music because the incidental music that it already came with was very Twilight Zone-esque. What I did was I came into it with a single philosophy. I decided to take out everything about it that made it like distinctly Doctor Who. So any reference to the TARDIS, any reference to time travel, any reference to Patrick Troughton's character being anyone other than just a guy who's in the right place at the right time, I took it out. And the enemies in that story, who are the Ice Warriors, I took out all references to them by name. I kept them more aloof and mysterious. Any time where they took an L, I took that out too. I wanted them to be constantly like unstoppable and kind of feel like this force of destiny that's coming after the protagonist. And I edited the ending to make it really unfortunate and sad. Because, you know, Twilight Zone, it's not exactly known for its happy endings. So it basically ends with this bureaucrat, pretty much, he's been covering his butt the whole story and complying with the whims of the Ice Warriors. And so in this version, he has doomed humanity irreversibly and gotten the Doctor and his companions killed. And that was a really fun edit to make. For my next edit, I decided to jump forwards a bit in time to the 1980s. Now, this is generally considered by many to be a hot take, but other than Patrick Troughton's era, I really like the stuff with Colin Baker's 6th Doctor. In my humble opinion, I think season 22 of the classic era, which was his first full season, is probably one of the best in the whole show. Not just the classics, but also the new stuff. So I decided to tackle his first story, except not exactly, and I'm about to explain what I mean. As I see it, there are exactly two things that drag down Colin Baker's stint as the Doctor. The first is that appalling costume that they produced. It's probably the biggest fashion crime since everything that Hugo Boss did in World War II. And the second thing that brought him down was having an absolutely abysmal 4-part opening story called The Twin Dilemma.
Oh no!
This story is notoriously bad.
He's mad! Like mad.
So I basically wanted to imagine with this edit, what if The Twin Dilemma had never existed, and instead, the Sixth Doctor's second story, Attack of the Cybermen, was his opening story. As far as the format is concerned, the season that Attack of the Cybermen premiered in was quite a departure from the rest of Classic Who. Each episode was changed from 25 minutes in duration to 45 minutes, which brings it more in line with the new version of the show. Attack of the Cybermen originally premiered as 2 45-minute long episodes, and it has some clunky pacing, like a lot of the shows from the Classic era. But it's easy enough to clean up if you know what you're looking for, i.e. repetition. All in all, editing Attack of the Cybermen was quite a breeze. I took about 7 minutes from Twin Dilemma Part 1, and I stuck it in there, and then I took out various scenes that didn't fit or were annoying or slow or added nothing to the plot, and I was able to contract the story down to about 70 minutes. So it's comparable to Peter Capaldi's premiere episode called Deep Breath. And overall, I think it's a pretty breezy story now that I've done the edits that I've done to it. So once again, that link is also in the description, along with the others.
Court finds you guilty of espionage.
This whole place is divided into time zones. 1917 zone, Roman zone, then Civil War zone.
There's something very strangely wrong here.
You will answer me now, or I will destroy your mind.
For my final edit, I took on the epic 10-part long Troughton Swan Song, Season 6's finale, The War Games. This story has a lot going on. It was the first story to properly introduce the Time Lords in their greater society and by name, and it also features a number of human conflicts from throughout Earth's history. It's a lot of plot, but is it 10 episodes worth of plot? No. So, I was able to reduce it down to 2 episodes, each just over an hour long. And with part 2, I added some special flourishes, some Easter eggs, some more overt references to the new era show. And I think that the edit that I've done is far superior. And I also colorized it using a similar process that I used for the Mind Robber. I took half colorized sources and then I did some color matching to make it more fully in color. And it looks quite good now too, especially the outdoor scenes. They're very vibrant. All in all, I'm really proud of this work. The Mind Robber and the War Games in particular make for quite a good trilogy now, and I really do hope that all of you will check out these edits that I've made. Once again, they're all going to be in the description, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's basically just for fun, just, you know, I've been up to a variety of things over this summer, and this was one of them. And I felt that I've been putting all this work into this stuff. Maybe I should just like show it to people, you know what I mean? So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe, of course. If you're not subscribed, what's wrong with you? You're missing out. Can you imagine if someone gave you the option to invest in Google in 1998 and you were like, no? What's wrong with you? Why would you do that? You know what I mean? So subscribe, or else.